That was amazing. What a way to celebrate Christmas. For those of you I haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Trent. I'm the senior pastor here, and I want to share a word of encouragement with you tonight, but I want to start with a question. It might seem like a weird question to get from a pastor on Christmas Eve. Can I ask you, have you ever wanted something more at Christmas? Bethlehem was a busy place. I mean, yeah, 2,000 years ago, but did you know only 5 years ago in 2019, there was quite a stir in Bethlehem because they were getting a very special gift. The actual manger that Jesus was born into was being brought back to Bethlehem. I don't know if you saw the news. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of debate about if it is the actual real manger that Jesus was born into. I'll give it this. It did spend 1,000 years at the Vatican in Rome before it was being brought into the Church of the Nativity in the little town of Bethlehem. You can still go there today, and it's going to be placed there where millions of tourists come and visit. And I should also tell you that it wasn't exactly the entire manger. The Vatican thought that would be safer to keep in Rome, so they sent a little piece of it off to Bethlehem. I have a photo for you tonight, or if you're tuning in online. This is the piece of the manger that they sent. Don't know why you're laughing. People thought this was amazing in Bethlehem. They paraded down the street with the manger, coming to the Church of the Nativity to bring it there where you can still see it today. Now, news anchors were all around the town of Bethlehem, and they interviewed people. And for some, this was the moment that they had been dreaming of. One man told news reporters, I quote, "We are proud that part of the manger is back in Bethlehem because we feel that the soul of God is with us more than before." While one woman named Sandy told the same news reporter, I quote, "It's a small piece. We all thought it would be a little bit bigger." Let me ask my question again. You ever wanted something more for Christmas? I mean, even if the real manger did show up on your doorstep, have you ever wanted something more? I mean, I'm not against presents or traditions or everything that we do at Christmas and gathering with friends and family. That is wonderful. But maybe what you're looking for just goes a little bit deeper. You're not sure you could find it at a store, not sure it could show up on your doorstep. What you're looking for is hope. What you're looking for is some kind of light in the darkness. What you're looking for is some kind of freedom in your life. What you're looking for, maybe this year you're here and you're looking for a miracle. And I got good news to you because your story is really not that different from the first Christmas 2,000 years ago in Bethlehem. Did you know people who gathered around that very manger that Jesus was born into, they were looking for a miracle as well. It was every bit a part of their story. And what they discovered in Jesus, then he changed everything for them. I want to give a word of encouragement tonight. I've given the title to More Than a Manger. If you're someone who, in somewhere in your life, you would say, I'm just looking for something a little bit more, God's got a word for you. It could be let's maybe start with a question. Why is there a manger in the story? You may know that a manger is part of the Christmas story, but have you ever wondered to yourself, like I have, why is the manger in the Christmas story? Well, the Gospel of Luke tells us the Christmas story, and we can search there. In Luke chapter 2, it tells about that first Christmas. It says this, "So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house in the line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. And while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger." Okay, there's the manger. Maybe this will tell us why. "Because there was no guest room available for them." Now, can I pause there for just a second this Christmas Eve? Does that seem a little bit strange to anybody else? Because on the one hand, Jesus being born into the middle of nowhere town of Bethlehem was the fulfillment of a 700-year-old prophecy that Micah gave way before it happened in the scriptures. But does it seem strange that God couldn't have also planned out a hotel room for them to be born in? I mean, no hospital, no even crib, just a manger? I mean, do you know what a manger is? We often have this idea of maybe like the one we have here tonight. It's this rustic kind of farm-style manger that we'd have in a nativity set. But I got to tell you, this one might mislead you a little bit because a manger was a feeding trough for animals. I mean, it was broken, it was dirty, it was slobbery, it was like diseased. It was this place where, can you believe, a newborn baby would be wrapped in cloths and placed into a manger like that. Jesus was placed into a manger. And besides, if you check the Bible, there's no prophecies about the manger. Sure, it said he would be born in Bethlehem. Sure, it said he would be born into humble circumstances. But there is no mention of any kind of manger. What kind of a plan is this? And honestly, maybe you're here and you would say, that feels a lot like my life. I don't know if God's got a plan. Like, I've heard he's got a plan for the whole world, but it doesn't seem like God's got a plan for me. It doesn't seem very well thought out. It seems kind of like this manger thing. What was he thinking? Nobody knew about this. Does God even have a plan for me? Does God have a purpose for my life? Does he really know what he's doing? Well, the story continues. Look at this. It says, and there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. Can you imagine? But the angel said to them, do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. And this will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger. I mean, good news. God does have a plan. God does keep his promises. A Messiah has been born into the world who will save us from our sins. And here's how you're going to know the Messiah is in a manger. I mean, to the shepherds, every newborn baby would have been wrapped in cloths, right? But it says the sign was the manger. That little word sign means miracle, but a little bit more than a miracle. It's a miracle with a message. It's a miracle that's filled with meaning. And the angels say, hey, shepherds, go check the manger. The manger's the sign. Do you know one of the things the manger can teach us, and it can speak into your life tonight, is that God does have a plan for you. And his plan may seem hidden. And his plan maybe to you may not make a lot of sense. And you may say, where is God and how could God be in this? But the manger, I call it a secret miracle. It's something that God had stored up for all of time, said, I'll make hundreds and hundreds of prophecies all about where the Messiah will be born. You won't be able to mistake him, but I still keep good secrets. And the manger was one of them. Nobody saw it coming. And you may think God just doesn't have a plan for you. The manger starts speaking to your heart at Christmas and said, God does have a good plan. God does give good gifts, and God does, on occasion, keep some good secrets for us as well. His plans are still for you. His promises are still in play in your life. And perhaps the people who would have been most surprised by that and shocked that Jesus was born into a manger were the very people that the angels announced it to. The shepherds. I mean, can you imagine being asleep at night and all of a sudden a host of angels comes to you and says a Messiah has been born into a manger? We tend to think of shepherds as these really nice people who live way out in rural areas of Minnesota, and they send sweaters into the city for us to buy, and they're great. That's not who shepherds were back then. Shepherds were dirty outcasts. They were dehumanized. People, if you were crossing on the sidewalk, you would go to the other side of the street. You didn't really associate with shepherds. Their testimony was not to be trusted in a court of law. They couldn't even enter the temple or the church to go and worship God. Can you imagine what it was like to be a shepherd? I mean, you'd think God would have chosen the rich. He would have chosen the social influencer. He would have chosen somebody who at least had some cultural credibility with the good news of Christmas. And yet Jesus comes to some dirty shepherds, some outcasts, who would have been just as shocked that Jesus was born into a manger. I mean, we're not given the conversation, but you can use your imagination. If you were a shepherd on that night, they'd say, a manger? Well, we know exactly what that is. Like, we're shepherds, we're farmers. But then they're thinking, like, well, there's not that many farms in Bethlehem. When's the last time we cleaned that thing? We've never cleaned it. I mean, that thing is so broken. It is so dirty. It is so overlooked. It is so abused. It is so worthless. I mean, it kind of sounds just like us. See, the story continues, and it says, so they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby, who was lying in the manger. And when they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about the child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. See, before Jesus could teach a parable, before he could do a miracle, before he could do anything at all, they saw the miracle in the manger, and they had to go tell the world. Why? Because they knew that Jesus just came into their world. Jesus just came to them. I think sometimes, if we're honest, we can think of Christmas, and maybe you've heard the story, and we can think, well, yeah, this is when God came to the whole world, which is true, absolutely. But you may miss out on the miracle of the manger. You may stand on the outskirts as just thinking you're on the outside of the story of Christmas looking in, but maybe God doesn't have anything in it for you. But the miracle of the manger is that God came for you. See, I don't know if you ever thought of this, if you put yourself in the Christmas story and said, well, who would I be in the Christmas story? I think we're the manger. I think that's why God chose to be born into a manger. See, you probably heard this verse many times, but I pray tonight you'd hear it for you. John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world, he gave his one and only Son. That's Christmas. But then it says that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. See, God came for whoever. Yes, God came to a broken place, but God came to a broken people. That no matter how broken, no matter how messed up, no matter how abused, overlooked, or whatever has happened to your life or been done to you, God says that's the very place I came to be received in your life. I was looking to be born into a manger at Christmas. And I love the personal touch to the shepherds, the people who would have gotten it that night and knew he has come to the world, but he just came into my world. He just came right into my reality, into the very place that I feel like God could never touch in me. He said, that's the very place I want to rest in your life. And I don't think it was the only time that God did this. See, the story of Christmas continues. Jesus grows up and he begins to minister when he was about in his 30s, and this was kind of a trademark of his. He went around and he found sinful fishermen who everyone had kind of put to the outskirts of society, and he said, those are my kind of followers. Leave your boats, leave your nets, come and follow me. I'll teach you how to fish for people. I'm inviting you to a whole new life. He invited social outcasts like the tax collectors, the cheaters, the stealers, the betrayers of their city. And he said, yep, you can follow me as well. I'll change you as we go. And even one day, he showed up and there was this woman who no one really wanted to associate with, who had been looking in all the other places to find what she was looking for in life. She probably would have said, I'm always looking for something more at Christmas. But Jesus met her one day at a well. You know, if animals have feeding troughs, people back then had wells. It was where they had daily life. It was where they drew up water. They had to go there every day. But something was different about this woman. We read her story in John chapter 4, and I'll tell you about it tonight. We meet her there in the middle of the day alone, which is kind of a red flag that everyone would have known. You're not supposed to travel alone to the well. That's dangerous. 2, you don't have any friends, so no one wants to associate you, and you have to go at a time of day where no one's even going to see you. How outcast do you have to be to go to a well during that time? But here she was. But there was Jesus too. Jesus showed up at the well, and he simply starts up a conversation, and he asks her, hey, can you get me something to drink? Can you draw up some water? And she says, I recognize you. You're a Jewish rabbi, and I'm a Samaritan, and us people don't associate or talk to each other, so let's not do this. Let's just end the conversation right here. But Jesus was kind of looking for something more, and he said, hey, if you knew who I was, I could give you water that would satisfy the depths of your soul so you would never even have to come back to this well. And she said, oh, well, wouldn't that be great? How about we have that so I wouldn't have to come back alone in the heat of the day? And I imagine kind of ending the conversation as well. But Jesus was looking for a little bit more. And he said, hey, this well that you've been coming to, why don't you bring your husband back? And then we can talk together. And she said, I don't have a husband. And Jesus said, well, I know you don't have a husband. You've had 5 husbands. You've been divorced 5 times, and the person you're living with right now isn't your husband. Oof, what a conversation. And she says, okay, I can see you know all my dirt. I can see you know all my brokenness. I can see you know all the things that I've done and have been done to me. Clearly, you're a prophet. Clearly, I can't be fixed, and I need to be saved, and the Messiah is going to figure all that out when he comes. And Jesus, without condemnation, without hesitation, leans in, and she became the first person to hear that we know of. I am the Messiah. My offer still stands. I've got something you can drink, and it will satisfy the depths of your soul. In other words, hey, you may have heard that I was born into a manger all those years ago. I'm still looking for mangers today. I'm still looking for the broken, still looking for the needy. I'm looking for people who think there's nothing lovable about them. Those are the people that I came for to receive me into their life. I came for those who were looking for more than a manger. And I want to tell you tonight, you're part of this story. Jesus came for you too. And you know how I know? A verse that you probably would have skipped over. Maybe like a detail, like a manger in the Christmas story. In John 4:4, it says this little tiny verse. It says, now he, Jesus, had to go through Samaria. And if you look at a map, he didn't have to go. He could have gone around it. He could have avoided it. He could have done anything he could have to get by Samaria. Similar to a manger. He didn't have to go into a manger. There was no prophetic word to be fulfilled. He could have done anything else. Yet he chose to be born into a manger. Why? He went to Samaria because he had to get to her. Jesus went into a manger because he wants to get to you. This is the thing about Christmas. As much as we gather to behold Christmas, we start to realize that Christmas is seeking us. That we come face to face with a God who's actually seeking us in our brokenness and in all the stuff we think that nothing and no gift and no satisfaction in life could ever fix. Because you were made for more. It's the truth about you. It's why we crave certain things. It's why at Christmas there is some part of your life that says, I just need something a little more. It's just, it didn't do it for me again this year. It's because you were made for more. And Jesus is the more that you're looking for. He's the one born into the manger. And he's simply looking for people who would say, I will receive into the broken, dirty cradle of my soul the one who offers to satisfy me. Because Jesus would go from a wooden cradle, and then he would go to a wooden cross. And he lived a perfect, sinless life, and then he died on that cross for broken, sinful people because he loves us. Because he had to get to us. Because the love of God so compelled him to come from heaven to earth at Christmas, to come into a manger, as if to say, would you receive me into your life? Would you let me into the very brokenness and all the places that you don't want me to touch? That's actually the place that I can transform. And would you believe that when that woman at the well ran back to her city, she said, I met a man, and he told me everything I've ever done. He knows all my dirt. He knows all my brokenness. He knows it all. And he didn't condemn me. And he offered me something to the depths of my soul. Could he really be the Messiah? It sounds like the shepherds who went back to their city and said, we found the Messiah. He's in a manger. Could you believe that God came for people just like us? See, I don't want you to miss the miracle of Christmas. I don't want it to pass by like a detail in the text of the manger, because that's the very place where God wants to come into your life and bring something new, to heal something, to deliver you from something, to bring hope, to bring light in the darkness, to bring comfort, to bring peace. And it's simply letting him into that place. It's the miracle of the manger. Simply receiving more is receiving Jesus. Wherever you're at, whatever is going on, he's the more that you're looking for. And I wonder this Christmas, you may be here and you're like, I'm a follower of Jesus. I know, me too. And I think in all of our lives, there's some place where you may be longing for more. And that's not a wrong thing. We face brokenness. We face losses in our family. We face moves and transitions. We face all sorts of different things in our stories. Yet God simply says, receive me into that place of your life and watch what I can start doing. Watch my presence come into that very place and begin to fill you with hope, begin to fill you with comfort and peace, acceptance and love. Because no matter who you are, if you're in Jesus, you're always part of his family. He's always got more for you. You may be here tonight, and I just want to talk to you for a minute. If you would say, I'm a shepherd, and I'm just like that woman at the well. That's me. I've looked everywhere. I've looked everywhere to try to fill my soul, and everything I drink doesn't last long enough. And I'm looking for something more, and I feel like a manger. And if that's you, receive Jesus. The greatest gift is not something you have to work to find. It's a gift that came to find you. And would you receive the greatest gift this Christmas?